Happy 4th of July, a little bit late because it's actually the 5th of July today. It is Friday the 5th of July, 2019, and I am back from StitchCon, and it has taken me this long to feel rested and human and recovered enough to tell you all about my adventures. I don't know whether it was, I think it was a combination of the excitement of it all and driving that far by myself and then burning the candle at both ends, but I got home and I was just exhausted. I don't know how people went to work the next day. I slept for like 2 days. I kept going, I think I need a nap, and then lying down and sleeping and lying down and sleeping some more. So I didn't want to come on and go, oh, StitchCon was really fun. So I thought I'd better wait until I was a little more rested to tell you all about my adventures. So I will. I set off on Wednesday. I'm on my way to Ohio, leaving my house in Pennsylvania. Because my plan was to drive to Western Ohio where my dad's family farm is, and I made it. I got out there, it was a beautiful day. I had absolutely smooth sailing across Pennsylvania, no problems at all, and got to Columbus, and I thought, ooh, I'm just hitting Columbus at 3:30. I think I'll scoot in front of the traffic. No. So I needed to go down the outer curve underneath Columbus, and I hit a lot of traffic doing that, but it was okay. It was moving, but it was like pre-rush hour, rush hour. And then I needed to take 71 to head off towards Dayton, and it was just a mess. There was all kinds of road construction. We sat and sat and sat, but it was fine. I wasn't tired, and I had good sunglasses on, and I was fine. Even heading into the sun, I was good. So I got to my dad's family farm, and I'll put some pictures in. You know, a place I love to be. And I got to have dinner with one of my cousins that night, and that was really fun. And I spent the night at the farm, and then I got up and had breakfast with my cousin and then headed to Cincinnati. So I got to Cincinnati about 10 o'clock, I'd say, and I had the secret plan to meet Barb and Leanne of Lost and Floss, and they were having breakfast. So I went in, I got to meet them, and I felt like I'd known them my whole life. It was really funny. It was one of those things where you go, like magnets. And So funny, so much fun to be with them. It's just lovely to be with friends who've been such good friends for such a long time. They just have this wonderful humor and camaraderie, and I just soaked it all in. And that morning at breakfast, let me think, I know we met Julie McConnell and Kyle, and who else was at breakfast? Other people, lots of other people, but all very exciting. We chatted, and Barb and Leanne were doing their funny interviewing of some people, so that was amusing. And then it was time to line up, and apparently the word had gone out from Stephanie that we could line up at 11:45. So we all got in this big line, and it moved very quickly, actually. By the time we lined up, it was quite far back, but I was very pleased. It seemed like it all went very smoothly, and it was moving quickly. I know Stephanie, on one of their earlier videos, Stephanie and Pam on Just Keep Stitching, had said, please don't feel bad if we don't stop to chat with you in the registration line. There'll be plenty of time over the weekend that we can chat, because we want to keep things moving. And they really did. And what was nice, too, is that while you were standing in line, of course, you're chatting to everybody you see, Flosstubers and non-Flosstubers alike. You're just in a happy, excited mood, and you're just chatting to everybody. And Barb would come along the line and talk to you and see where you're from and make sure you were happy and had everything you needed. And it was just wonderful. So finally it was our turn to check in, and there was Pam and Steph, and Sue Hillis was helping out in the check-in line, as was Nicole Buckeye Stitcher, and I think maybe even somebody else was helping out. I can't quite remember. But then you went into the big stitching room, and they had all these round tables there. I'm sure you've seen videos now of what the stitching room was like. I had been concerned. I was thinking, oh my gosh, what's it going to be like with 400 people? But it really didn't feel that way. Something about the space and the round tables, it felt very intimate. And you sat at your little round table, but you kind of wove in and out when you would be heading to get food or go to the bathroom, whatever, and chat to everybody else at the different tables. It was very, very nice. As soon as I saw the space, I thought, oh, I like this space.
Pennsylvania, that's right. I love when you were talking to the lady that had done all those samplers.
Oh, I know, my word. That's my neighbor.
Oh my goodness.
So incredible. And then I had to go back because... so I sat down with Barb and Leanne, kind of in the center of the room. And then we were joined by this nice woman, Pat, and another woman. And they became our stitching buddies for the weekend. And all around the edge of the room, they had long tables, and two of the long tables in an L shape were the brag table, and I will put in pictures of that. Absolutely phenomenal things that people did. But unfortunately, some of the pictures I took, I was so eager to see all this stuff that I jumped up and took pictures, and people added stuff because people came later or rearranged things, or went out to their cars and got their things to put on later. And so I maybe jumped the gun a little bit getting the pictures, but you get a good sense of it between the pictures I have and the pictures other people have. Just wonderful things. It was such eye candy and such inspiration. And then there was a big freebie table, at least 2 long tables. And again, I went and looked at that, and I picked up a couple things, but I should have gone back throughout the weekend because I know I added my things, which were mostly quilting magazines, later because I had left them in the car. I didn't want to carry everything in from the car initially. So I made several trips out to the car and put my magazines on later. And I should have gone back and looked through later in the weekend because I'm sure there was more goodies added, but that's fine. And I'm pleased to say I think my magazines went, because I did go back and look at one point and I didn't see them. So either somebody moved them around or people took them, which I hope they did. So that would be pleasing to me if I thought people were getting to enjoy them. I'm excited, I'm like out of breath and excited just telling you about the experience. And that's what it was like. For the first 2 days, I would say, I barely got a stitch in. I was lucky if I got 10 stitches done. Because every time I would sit down, I would be either so excited, like I was jittery, like I'd had too much coffee. I was so excited to be there. I was so excited to meet all these people, and there were people I recognized that I was excited to go up to and say hi, and then people were coming up to me and saying hi, which was just thrilling. People are so kind, and I had such fun talking to everybody. And if I have any regrets, it's that I did not get to talk to everybody there, or at least more people, because you're kind of taking it all in. It's because I'd never been to a retreat before, and I'd never been to anything like this before. I was kind of taking it all in and trying to figure out how things worked. And I think I had gone there thinking there would be much more structure to what you do during the day and that kind of thing, but it really was just a couple things during the day you needed to be aware of. You needed to be aware of when the annex would be open if you wanted to go shopping in the annex. You needed to know when your smalls exchange was if you were participating in that. There were a couple raffles that were going on to raise money for charity. And by the way, I think they raised over $2,000, so they were very successful. But other than that, you were kind of free to come and go as you pleased. You could go to Keepsakes. They had this wonderful school bus, the Stitchy bus, that Barbara's husband, Joe, had fixed up to be the Stitchy bus. And you'll see lots of pictures of that. I'm sure you've already seen lots of pictures, but that was really fun. Because you could hop on the Stitchy bus and they'd take you to Keepsakes. And they also would go between the hotels where people were staying. So you didn't have to make your way to the convention center. Like you could ride the bus from your hotel to the stitching room, which was really nice. What else? Oh my gosh. So I think I was saying I thought there would be more structure, but you were free to go get food when you wanted or not. They did have a concession stand open there. And there was some talk of it not being open all the time because if it wasn't utilized much, they would close it. But whenever I went to look, they were mostly out of food, so I think it had been utilized pretty well. And that was certainly convenient. If you wanted to get a drink or some snacks or something, you could go there. Plus they had a little booklet that told you things to do around Cincinnati and restaurant suggestions. I mean, this crew had thought of everything. And when you were at Keepsakes, for instance, they had their regular employees, but they also had some people who'd, I don't know if they were paid or they volunteered, but friends of Barbara and friends of people who worked there, who were there helping out because they knew they were going to have such crowds. So you'd be looking for something and somebody'd come up and go, "Can I help you find a pattern?" Or "Do you want me to hold that? Let me get you a basket." And then they had bottles of water on the front porch. It is so cute. It is such a fun shop to go to because it's in a little old house and eye candy everywhere, inspiration everywhere. You have to look up and down and all around. Every nook and cranny is filled with samples. And not just samples, but cool ways to display things and fun things to display things on and fun little accessories that are tucked here and there. And just, I ended up going there twice. I could have gone back every day. So I was telling you my first day was Thursday. Barb and Leanne and I and Pat went off and found some lunch at this fun little sports bar called the Blue Goose, which is in downtown Sharonville, which is a very cute little town. And it was a very nice lunch. And then after that we thought, oh, let's go to Keepsakes. It might not be as crowded as it had been when the city bus was running, because by this point it was pretty late in the day. So by the time we got to Keepsakes, it was 4:30 and they were closing at 5. So we raced in, we looked all around, and it curtailed my shopping that day, which was a good thing. But I did buy some things, which I'll show you. But you know, I just knew I had to come back. So we made a plan. We were going to go back. I guess that was Thursday. I was telling you, Thursday evening we had gone. We were going to go back on Saturday morning. So some of the things when you arrived at StitchCon, I want to show you some of the things they gave you. First of all, it has to be the most important, candy. Aunt Sally's creamy pralines, and it was absolutely delicious. I'm sorry, I broke the rule. I ate it. I think I snarfled it down as soon as I found it in my bag. It was delicious. I don't know if this is a specific Cincinnati treat, or it's actually, it says New Orleans. So it was yummy anyway. It was fun to have some candy in there. And this I thought was so cute. This is Ooh La Loo. It's a little, can't get out of the bag. Well, it's the state of Ohio, and then it's got this little button, wooden button with a heart that's marking Cincinnati in Ohio. I just thought that was darling. I think you can hang it up. It seems to have a little hanger tag on it. Hold on. Yeah, it hangs up. I don't think it has a magnet in it, but it's just, I just thought that was so cute. And what a cute idea as a little gift. Then we got patterns galore. We had a whole stack of freebie patterns. I'm just going to tell you some of the ones. Raise the Roof, Works by ABC, Pedal Pusher, Misty Purcell, Luminous Fiber Arts, Julie McConnell, Barefoot Needle Art, Kanikis, Cecilia Turner, and Teresa Vanette. And did I say Sue Hillis? I think Sue Hillis as well. All had freebie patterns for us, which was just, that was really neat. I do want to point out though that, oh, where is it? Oh, can't reach. I checked with Barb and Leanne, and they did not get the same Raise the Roof pattern as I did. So I have a bone to pick with whoever was putting together the giveaway packets. Here's what my pattern is. Getting old sucks. I thought that was funny. I'm like, Barb, Leanne, did you get this pattern? And they're like, no, ours is something different. I'm like, darn. Thought that was hilarious. Anyway, off the freebie table, I found, this is a chart from Workbasket. I'm just going to flash it at you because it is just the pattern, but it has a little, looks like a Christmas tree with a bird and a squirrel in it. And there's a little deer down at the bottom too. This is actually sort of a quilt pattern, but it's 4 quilt blocks, and then there's red work. And I thought I'd be able to use some of these somewhere. Like the one that says Christmas or something. I can see myself putting that on a pillow or doing something. I just thought, oh, that's kind of interesting, and it was free, so I took it. This one I took because I thought the snowmen were cute, and it was Sue Hillis. And when I showed it to her, because I had brought Sue Hillis patterns that I own, and she very kindly signed them for me, and I snuck this one in with it, and she goes, oh, but it's missing the flag. I guess originally it had a little flag that this fellow was holding, and I said, that's okay, I'll find a little something, either a button or a little patch or something, and make him a little flag. So that wasn't a problem. So those are the ones I got off the freebie table. And I'm kicking myself because I did not get Cecilia Turner to sign my patterns. I love her patterns. I have a lot of her patterns. I bought more when I was there, and I was just not even thinking that she was there. I don't know. I don't think until the end I realized she was who she was or something. I don't know. But I feel bad because I would love to have had her. I would love to have chatted to her and told her how much I enjoy her patterns. And I would love to have had her sign mine. But another time. Hopefully she'll be there next year if I get to go. Then I had some very kind people give me some very nice things. And if I've mixed up who gave me what, please correct me, because I think I've got it right. I think it was Debbie who gave me this, which I thought was so cute. It's pretty scrapbook paper, and on the back it's printed project, designer, fabric, threads, start, and finish. So you can keep track, and then it's attached by a ring to some Flossaway bags. What a great idea for a little giveaway to give out to people. I just thought that was so nice. And that was like before I'd even sat down. Like, I was about to sit down, and she came up and she said, I have something for you. And I was like, oh, I just felt overwhelmed the whole time. And I think that's why I was so shaky, because I was just like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm getting to meet all these people. I can't believe these people are so kind, and everybody's so happy and excited. And I think it was Donna Ray Barrow had said it was a joyous room. I mean, the room was filled with joy, and that's really how it was all weekend. Lynette, Homesteading in the Home Front, gave me this beautiful scissor fob with the letter V at the bottom, which I'm just thrilled. I said to her, I've always wanted, I don't have any sort of fun beaded silver, scissor fobs, and I really wanted some, and she made me this, which makes it even more special. I love the colors, the sort of greens and coppery colors. I think that's beautiful. And I got to meet little one. Oh, she's such a dear. I had such a good time with that. Another thing somebody gave me, Kathy Boyd came around, and I think this is the cutest idea too. She has these needle minders. She's from Minnesota, and they were in the shape of the state of Minnesota. Isn't that a wonderful idea? I think that's so cute, and I love that they're wood, and they're just really pretty, and they work really well. Did you hear it snap onto my magnetoboard? And then the final, people were exchanging cards, and people were leaving cards on the table. Truthfully, I made it around to about half the room. I had taken enough cards to put on everybody's place, and at some point I ran out of steam, or I was in mid laying my cards, and somebody came up and started chatting to me, or I don't know what happened, but there's about half the room I never even got to go say hi to those people. I never got to introduce myself. I never got to put my cards down. So that's one of the things I've got in my head that I would like to do differently next year. I would like to circulate more. And Lynette had this great game that she and little one were playing. She would stitch on her own thing for a while, and then she would take a length of floss and go find an empty seat in another table. And either when the person whose seat it really was came back, she would get up and move, or when she finished her length of floss, she'd go, ding, time for me to move on, and so she'd go get another piece of floss and then go sit at somebody else's table. And that way she really got to meet so many people. And I felt like I met a ton of people, but not enough. I didn't meet everybody, and as much as I know that would have been near impossible, I would like to have done better than I did, so. Next year. I keep saying that. Oh, something else I got freebie. Pat, when she first sat down at our table, she said, oh, I got some things I should go put in the freebie table. And being the squirrels that we are, we said, oh, what? You know? And she had some patterns and she had some cuts of fabric. And so I took one of her cuts of fabric. So it never even made it to the giveaway table, sorry. Thank you, Pat. So I will stitch something special in there and think of you. 2 more magnets, or I was talking about cards, people giving out their business cards. And my card, I can show you what it looked like. It said, stitching in the barn and my name. And then in the back it says, stitching in the barn, wishing you all good things, which is what I like to say at the end. But I was foolish. I should have had them put on my Instagram account or something on there, or emailed, I don't know. Anyway, live and learn. I can write it on there for next time. But the people who win the prize for the best cards ever, I can't even get it here. Pam and Steph. I forget whose husband drew this, but I just think it's class. It's just so wonderful. I love that so much. And then they have another little magnet that has all their famous sayings on it. Dead on the floor, happy finishes everyone. Oh, that was another thing that was so much fun. I'll put a picture in of the podium where if there was going to be an announcement or people were going to give a welcome talk or something, they would go stand in the podium. And on the podium there was a little cross-stitch sign that said StitchCon, which was Sue Hillis' design. But there was also happy finishes everyone in cross-stitch, and the bell, Stephanie and Pam's bell from Just Keep Stitching, that they go ding when you have done a finish. So I am happy to say I got to ring the bell. So anytime anybody had a finish, you could go up and ring the bell, and then everybody would applaud for you, which is very exciting. I did finish, but, well, I'll show it to you when I find it, when I get to it. All right. I knew this was going to be all over the place, but anyway. So that night, I was not driving all the way back to my dad's farm, which was an hour away. I was staying with my aunt in Dayton. It was south part of Dayton, so it was really very convenient. It was like half an hour, but, you know, I started packing up to leave there, to be leaving there at 9. The stitching room closed at 10. They locked it at 10. But around 9, people were packing up, and I tried to pack up and get out of there by 9 because I didn't want to get to my aunt later than 9:30, but every night I'd stop and talk to somebody on my way out. Of course, it would be closer to 10 when I get to my aunt. And then she would have a full dinner waiting for me and wine, and, you know, we were talk. So each night I was not going to bed till after 12, and then I would get up at 6:30 and shower and get ready and try and be into the stitchy room by like 8:30. It opened at 8. So I was really quite exhausted by the end of it. There was a late night stitchy room open till 2 a.m., which that would have killed me if I had tried to go. I might have gone down and said hi to everybody, you know, see who was down there stitching and said, good on you, I can't stay with you because I'm exhausted, but it might have been fun just to see the activities down there. But I've seen some on video, and I know they, it had a little more of a party atmosphere, shall we say, and people brought chips and dip and things to drink and stuff like that, which you didn't have. I mean, people had snacks in the stitching room, but not anything else. But even so, I wouldn't have been able to stay up like that. I just couldn't have done it. But it seemed like it was fun. Something else Lynette had brought me, it was so cute. I guess she and little one had gone touring sort of through Amish country on their way to StitchCon, and at some Mennonite thrift store, she had found some cross-stitch country craft magazines, and she specially saved this one for me because it has this, it says decorative painting is the name of it, but it really looks like a fractor. And I think that's gorgeous, and I can't wait to stitch it, and how sweet of her. So I'm going to stitch it, and then I'm going to send it to her so she can stitch it too, but I just thought it was so kind of her. Like she, you know, just people. People. They're so nice. All right, hold on. I've got to find something for you. Okay, so now we're on to Friday. Friday, I got there around 8:30. I wanted to try and do a little bit of stitching. Since I had barely touched anything the day before. So Friday's the day I got to ring the bell. I did have this finish. I'm calling it a finish, even though I may possibly add the words. But here is my Grace on the Kindred Spirits Club Plum Street Sampler Paulette Stewart house. Wait, I should put something behind it. I'll put Getting Old Sucks behind it. How's that? There it is. And so I could say God shed his grace on thee across the top. When I was coming back from ringing the bell, somebody called me over and said she had started her kit and mistakenly was using 2 threads over 2. So she'd run out of floss. So whatever floss I had left over, I gave her, except for the words. I kept that. I think it was Tin Roof or something, and I probably should have given it to her because I probably have Tin Roof at home somewhere. But anyway, I gave her everything except for my Tin Roof, and so that would be the words across the top if I decide to add them. I kind of like it as it is, although I do love that God shed his grace. I'm not going to sing. My voice has just been awful since I got home. Allergies and sleep deprivation, but God shed his grace on thee. So, jury's still out. I have the floss, should I decide I want to add the words. You know what I'll do? I will try and find the board or whatever it was I had in mind to finish that on and see if I think it would look good with the words then. And if I want to add them, I can. You can see them there. God shed his grace on thee. So that was my finish, and to be truthful, I didn't have a whole heck of a lot to do on that, but I wanted to ring that bell, so that's what I picked. And then Friday, let me think, we went to a late lunch at a place that I guess Leanne had found on her phone. I think it was listed in our little booklet of good restaurants around. And there seemed to be lots, and lots of things for people to do. I know one husband was going to go to museums one day. He was going to go to the craft breweries another day. He was going to go whitewater rafting another day. So there's lots of things for husbands to do as well if they want to accompany you. We went to this place called Sammy's Craft Burgers and Beers, and I'll put a picture in. I think they're best known for their sort of gourmet burgers, and I had a delightful thing there called beer cheese, which I'd never had before. And it's like a dip with pretzels, soft pretzel balls that you dip in it. I guess it has beer in the mixture, like probably cheese and mustard and beer and I don't know what else, but it was very good. Then we had to make sure we were back because it was our day for smalls exchange. When you checked in, you got your welcome. Oh, and I never showed you. See, I am all over the place. This cool bag that you got too, and you checked in. Very nice with a zipper, which I love. Anyway, you got all your goodies. And then at the very end, they had a big bag, and you had to reach in the bag and pull out a poker chip. And depending on what color you had, that's when you did your smalls exchange. So I had a blue chip, so my smalls exchange was going to be Saturday afternoon at 4. So I did some shopping at the Annex that day. I didn't go off to Keepsakes because I didn't want to miss the 4 o'clock time. And I'll show you what I got. Is this Annex? No, this was Keepsakes. I'll do that later. Smalls exchange. So Barb and Leanne and I, funnily enough, we were right in line together to get our chips. We all got the same color chip. So I had chip 15, which was quite early. I think each color grouping, there were 4 different color groupings, I think, and each one had 100 people in it. Not all 100 usually, but close to. And in fact, I think our final tally for how many people attended StitchCon was more like 380 because some people had to pull out at the last minute, etc., etc. But still, that's quite a lot of people. So 4 o'clock Saturday, number 15, and they'd call you up in groups, you know, like 1 through 7 went, and then 7 through 14, and then 15 through whatever. So I walked along the table, and there are all these beautiful packages, and there was this box wrapped in, talk about being a squirrel, shiny polka dot paper. It's glittery on here. I don't know if you can see, it's almost like little snowflakes with this big fluffy white bow. So of course I went for that. Squirrel. Anyway. So I opened the box and there were some lovely candies on there, and there's a story with these, which is that I did not get to eat all these candies. I brought them home and thought, I will put them to the side of the kitchen and tomorrow I will get to try one. Well, some other little squirrel named my husband got to them first. I did get to try one, but there were caramel covered chocolate, chocolate mint, and then the one that he snarfled first was the truffly one. But he can be forgiven. So anyway, in the box there were these candies laying on the top and this really cute little card. And so it was funny because you went up and you took your box or bag, whatever you chose, and then everybody went back to their seats and opened them, which I think is kind of a shame. And they did have a suggestion box, and I sort of wish I had put this in the suggestion box, that maybe they should set up chairs in a circle or something for all the participants of each set of Smalls exchange, so that everybody could see everybody else open your package, because you know, you put so much work into it and you want to see the person open it, and vice versa. They probably like to see you open yours. And so that's going to be a suggestion. I'll write that and send it along. But so anyway, Barb and Leanne and I took our packages and we sat down at our table and we said, oh, let's all open them and we can see each other open them. So you go first, Valerie. So I opened a cute little donut card and I'm reading, and it says, sending you lots of stitchy love. That's as far as I got. And then it says, Leanne Malzewski. I was like lost in floss. I couldn't believe it. Ah. And it's a Brenda Gervais pattern, tied with heartstrings, stitched on 32 count linen, she wrote. But she was just cracking up. She thought maybe I'd seen her carry the box in or something, which I had not. It was just a funny coincidence. But I was just absolutely thrilled with my pillow. To see, it's a beautiful little bird with this lovely antique-y looking ribbon, and she's put the buttons on and she's woven the ribbon all through here around the heart, and she's put these little pins in here, and just gorgeous. I just love this. And rick-rack around the edge. And then on the back, I love this, she made a little StitchCon 2019 with a needle and thread label. So I love my pillow and I'm thrilled to have it. And it's very funny and very special to me that Barb made it. So I'm delighted. Maybe she was disappointed that it wasn't somebody new and different, but I was thrilled. And I will put in the pictures of the nice woman who won mine. I have forgotten her name at the moment, but I'll put it across when I put the picture in, and she seemed to really like it, so I was thrilled. And I had written a little note in there telling her what I had done and how I stitched it and everything, and she seemed to really like that too. Hang on, I'll get the paper and show you what it was. Oops, sorry. Okay, so it was the small that I stitched and gave away was a Blackbird design pattern, Wild Rose. It can be a journal cover, but I just made it like a pillow. And this part, the basket, I did in wool, and then the flowers, I don't know if you can see them, I chain stitched them. this part, these 3 flowers. That was chain stitching. So it was fun. It was different. You know, it had a few little extra goodies on it. And I stuffed it with a mixture of walnut shells, wood shavings, and lavender that had been sent to me by Darlene. So Grateful had sent me lavender seeds from her garden, which I shared and put some in the pillow so it would smell good. If you crunched it up, it smelled delicious. So I was very happy about that. And the recipient seemed very happy too. I would say, you know, this was the first thing I have ever finished myself. And I made sort of an amateur mistake, which is that I did not stuff it full enough, in my view. I stuffed it and then I thought, oh, I don't want to not stuff it enough, so I put more in. I thought, oh, I should put a little more in and more in. And several times I did that, but I still wanted it to have some give to it. So I sewed it all up and I was very happy with it, but then I was showing it to my husband and people and I was sort of crunching it to make the lavender smell good. And as I did that, it kind of settled in the pillow a bit and I thought, oh gosh, I really probably should have stuffed it fatter. But it'll be a floppy pillow, I guess. It's the thought that counts, right? So that was thrilling, the Smalls Exchange, and then I shopped at the Annex. And then Saturday, so Friday night again, back to my aunt's house, stayed up way too late, probably till about 1 o'clock that night. And, you know, I'm losing my voice, I'm really tired, but it was really fun. And I don't get to see her often, so I was really happy to see her. Saturday, I went in again. I probably got in a bit later, probably got in around 9, and they made an announcement, first Stitchy bus leaving. So I hot-footed it, hightailed it out to the Stitchy bus and hopped on and got the lassie. Well, Barb and Leanne were supposed to be coming with me, but they didn't quite make it. There weren't any more seats, so they ended up driving separately. But they met me there. And I will also say that while we were at Keepsakes, they gave you an awful lot of free patterns. And everyone there is so nice. Barbara's husband, Joe, was cutting fabric. Jen Spooneroony Stitchers, my new best pal, she was helping me find things and, you know, keeping me in line. And Mary B, so nice, so kind, so interesting. And Jan Calvert and her sister, the finisher, and Linny. I just loved everybody there. And Barb's family is very involved. Like her son is the one who coined the phrase StitchCon. And he was joking at first, but it caught on and it's cute and clever. And her daughter drew a design that became a shirt, which I bought. I'll have to insert a picture of it. A Stitchy Bus shirt. As a souvenir. It's very cute. And they're talking about putting air conditioning in the Stitchy Bus next year, so that's a good thing. So I rode the Stitchy Bus out to Keepsakes and did a little more damage and then came back, and this day I was determined I was going to get some stitching done, which I'm really happy because I wanted to have a StitchCon start. It was sort of important to me to have something to commemorate the weekend with. And as you know, I was wanting to make this for my daughter to take to college in August when she goes for her first year. Miss Bingley's library. I shall be miserable if I have not an excellent library. Plum Street Samplers, Jane Austen. And I had lost the pattern, but I found it just before StitchCon, so I thought, right, I'm going to start that. And so I was determined to do that. And so that I did on Saturday. But I think that was probably to the detriment of my getting to mix around as much as I probably should have with other people. But I did get a start. And I have worked on this since I came home, so I didn't get all this done while I was there. I had just done probably that much of the lettering while I was at StitchCon. But since I came home, I added more letters, and I've been working on the house. So I feel very pleased about this. I feel like I can do this and get it framed by August, and then my daughter can take it with her when she goes to be an English major. So, and it was funny because a bunch of people came up to me and said, oh, I'm stitching that, or, you know, I want to stitch that. And it's a very enjoyable stitch, I will tell you that. What else? Family. I was thinking about Barb and her family and how they're all involved, like Joe fixing up the bus, and while I was at Keepsakes, he was the one that was cutting all the fabric because Barb's working at the annex and her son is doing the stitchy bus and different things. And Buckeye Stitcher's boyfriend was the bus driver as well. He was so good-natured and funny and nice, and he go back and forth in the heat driving the bus, but he made it very enjoyable. I would say the whole weekend it felt like a big family thing. I mean, I felt like everybody was family. Like we were all in this together and we were all having such fun and just really, really enjoyable time. Some other things that were in our goodie bag that I forgot to show you were these nice journals, which you could have made like have people autograph it or put their email addresses or something like that. Maybe I would do that next year. Or it could be your new stitching journal. We had these passports, which was really fun. I hope I'm not giving anything away, but it had fun questions about each Flosstuber. And so people could go around trying to figure out who you were. I'll just randomly open it up. It says, which Flosstuber is studying to become a rare book librarian? And so you would take your passport and you'd go up to the person you thought was maybe the one who was studying to be the librarian, and if you were right, you get a sticker. They'd given us these stickers to hand out. So people were filling up their passports with stickers. It was just a cute, fun way, you know, icebreaker, get people to know each other. It was a very lovely send-off Saturday night. The joy, you know, was evident in the room, and they had put there, apparently there were 3 stitchers who had died and never made it to StitchCon, which is very sad. And somebody had thought to put 3 chairs along the side of the room with hoops with some cross-stitching, a little cross-stitch heart in it, and just sat them in the chairs. And it was just a very touching memorial to them. And then they refunded the registration fee for a woman who'd been living in, is it Paradise, California, where they had the terrible fires and she'd lost everything. And she was such a cheery person. She was inspirational as well. She was like, well, you know, I can carry on and have fun at StitchCon. And, you know, just tremendous spirit these people have. And then, what else I want to tell you about? Oh, they did the fundraising. They had raffled off a big quilt and some other things they were selling raffles for. Gary had donated his bags, project bags, and people were buying those, and the proceeds from that went also to raise money for this food bank. And they raised over $2,000 for it, which was very impressive. But it just, I was going to say something about the goodbye, the send-off. Well, everybody just didn't want it to leave. I mean, didn't want it to end. I didn't want to leave. And I was torn because I knew I wanted to do stuff with my aunt on Sunday, but they were going to do a make it take, and I really wanted to say goodbye to people. And then they announced, if you have to leave, we can hand you your make and take before you go. And so that's what I did. I just got it. And it's going to be a little scissor fob, so now I'll have 2. It's got, look, the stitchy bus. So cute. And a little tassel, and it says 2019 as well. So I'll put this together and make myself a little scissor fob and think of this glorious weekend. So I skedaddled Saturday night, and I did say goodbye to a couple people, but that was really it. I thought if I start, I'll never leave. So to all of you that I didn't get to say goodbye to, I had such a fun time meeting you. It was so enjoyable, and I wish we could have talked longer, and I hope we will soon. I'll just think of it that way. So I went home to my aunt's. We stayed up late again. Then the next morning we had fun together, and then I left and drove to my cousin's house in eastern Columbus, which is a good place for me to stop because I realized how exhausted I was. But I really wanted to see her as well, and then it gave me a chance to sleep and then get up the next day and drive a shorter distance back to Pennsylvania. But I will say, even with that, like even with just going to Columbus and spending another night and getting up the next day, my Diet Coke trick did not work. It was not sufficient. I tell my children all the time, if you find yourself getting sleepy, pull over, pull over. And sure enough, you know, I'd stop for lunch. It was like 2:30, 3. I'm driving along, and I felt my eyes go like that, and I thought, oh no. So then I had to keep going until the next rest stop. So I was like slapping myself and pinching myself and singing, and if anybody drove by, they must have thought, good Lord, woman, what are you doing? But I made it to the rest stop, and I pulled in, and I set my phone to have a little sleep, and I swear to you, 2 seconds later, I was out cold. I was sound asleep, and I did not hear a thing, move, anything till my alarm went off. And I woke up, and I felt refreshed, and I thought, okay. And then I only had another couple, oops, sorry, I bumped the table. I had a couple hours to drive then, and I was okay. But thank goodness I stopped, because honestly, it was terrible. That feeling of, oh my gosh, I closed my eyes for a second, and you're going 75 miles on a highway. This is not good. So, all right, excuse me. Things I learned. Next time, I'm not going to worry so much about stitching, although I will say this is an excellent place if you want some advice. Like Leanne had some specialty stitches on a piece she was doing. There's a room full of stitchers you could ask, you know, how would you do this? Or how do you like to do this stitch or whatever? So it's a wonderful place to get advice and help. But I'm not going to worry so much about how much stitching I get done. You know, it's really fun meeting other people and hearing their stories and walking around looking at the tables and the projects people are doing and the brag tables. And, oh, I mean, you learn so much just looking at these beautiful pieces and thinking about all these things. What else did I learn? Go with your own rhythm. There'll be somebody else there who's on your same time schedule. So like if you feel like, you know what, I don't really want to eat lunch, I could keep stitching now. Do that. Somebody will be there who could do that with you or whatever. It's very relaxed. It's very much, you know, please yourself and your own rhythm. So that was kind of nice. I'm going to take deep breaths. I'm going to look at everything 2, 3, 4, 5 times and more because, for instance, the annex, they'd given you a preview Thursday night. You couldn't buy anything, but you could go and look. Some people had gone in and browsed. Well, they opened Friday morning. The line was crazy. I think Barbara realized she's going to have to do something differently next year because there were no prices on anything, and I think that kind of really slowed everything down. It was just her and Linny checking people out, and they had to look up everything because it was a trunk show, I guess. Like Teresa Vanette had sent stuff, Kitten Stitcher, and so they didn't put prices on it, but they would have to pack it up and send back what they didn't sell, I guess. So she had this big spreadsheet, and I think they're going to have to rework that. But you know, I'd go in there and it would be so crowded, and I would just kind of glance around and think, oh, I'll come back later. And then when I did get a chance to go in, I was rushing and I didn't look at everything. I was going to make a list of all the people that were at the trunk show, but I did take pictures, which I'll insert. But let's see, there was Sue Hillis, there was Cecilia Turner, there was Teresa Vanette, there was Jeanette Douglas, there was, all kinds of things. So there were Kathy Haberman, sorry. My favorite thing in that trunk show was getting to see Savior's Praise, the real McCoy, up close and personal. I own that pattern. I intend to do that pattern someday. So that was really fun, but everything else was gorgeous too. I mean, so much eye candy. I did not know they had a whole table of color and cotton fabric, which gone lickety split. You know, by the time I thought, oh, now the line's not bad, I'll go shopping. Well, I went in there, nothing. There was no fabric left on that table. There was under the sea fabric, some beautiful pieces, which I got a couple. But I would like to have tried them both. I have already liked under the sea fabric, but I had never tried color and cotton. So next time I will go there first. Okay, as far as artistic lessons learned, just walking around and looking at everything everybody was stitching, I think the most fascinating thing I took away was how impactful, if that's a word, it is changing the color of linen on a pattern. Like, I saw so many patterns that I either own or I've stitched or I've seen stitched, but done on different colored linen, and it was just thrilling to see the different effects that gave. And that's something I'm going to keep with me. Like, as I go forward choosing the fabric I'm going to use for various projects, I'm really going to try and be creative and think outside the box and contemplate different choices more than just going with the called for or what looks sort of typical. And I'll insert an example of one I saw that just was so zingy done on green. I think it's Miss Mary Hadley. Might be Kathy Barrick. But forgive me if I'm wrong about it. But I know it's a pattern I own and love and have been intending to stitch. And then seeing it done on this green, it was just like, wow, that's so different and wonderful. So I'll stick that picture in. And then I'm going to have to wrap this up soon because I know it's already over an hour. So I will try and talk fast and quick show you some things that I got. And then in the end, I think I'm going to do sort of a montage of just pictures of fabulous people I met this weekend. So that's what I'll do. Hold on. Okay, first things I got at my first visit to StitchCon, I got Brenda Gervais Stars and Stripes. I got Hands on Design Stitch Every Day. And I got Snow Days Bowl Fillers. Now these are wool applique, but they're actually on a printed background as well. And they are by All Through the Night and super cute, I thought. I love wool applique, as you know, and I thought these would stitch up very quickly because it has the printed background and you're just stitching part of the design down. And very cute little Christmas decorations. Annex shopping. The next thing I think, oops, I thought I had everything right here. No. Hold, please. Okay. Annex shopping. I told you I got some Under the Sea fabrics, which I think are just beautiful. I'm excited to think of what to use these on. This one's called Naiad, N-A-I-A-D. It's a 32 count linen. Beautiful. This one is Evergreen. It's a 36 count. Again, beautiful. So I'm very pleased to have those. I didn't realize I got such a big piece of the 32 count. So I'll have to do lots of things on that. Jenny Bean and Friends from Shakespeare's Peddler, Kitten Stitcher. Tell me, ye knowing and discerning few, where may I find a friend both firm and true? This was stitched up as one of the trunk show samples. I've always loved that. This you may see as a future giveaway because I managed to buy this twice. I got this, I've always liked her keys and teacups and, teaspoons and things. And they had this here and I had picked it up And then later in the weekend, Barb and Leanne said, oh, let's do this as a stitch along maybe. So I ended up getting an extra copy of it, not remembering that I had bought the first one. I got a couple hands-on designs. I want to do the little bits, the Automaker's Farm. I had such fun doing the first one that I did, which was Queen Bee Farm. So I thought I'd do the Automaker's Farm. I love the buffalo check and the different colored pumpkins up there. Who knows, I may end up doing some of the bigger things, especially this one with the sort of autumnal motif. I like that. But you know, people pick out different motifs from these, like the truck or the little barn or something. So there's lots of fun in that. And then I had to have Hippity Hop and Carrots and Cottontail Farm too. And then this is what Barb and Leanne and I called each other all weekend, Fractor Friends. I don't know why, but I love that. That's also Shakespeare's Peddler. And you know, I had one woman who was so funny. She kept coming up to me and saying, how's that year of fractors going? Because of course I had declared in one of my first videos that I was going to do the year of fractors. Well, haven't quite achieved that yet, but it may be the years of fractors, because I do love fractor designs and I do intend to do more. Then quickly, my trip to Keepsakes. I got a big piece of this. It's actually a fat quarter. It's called Dames the Needle from the Cauldron, Peeps Lost Sheep. And it's 32 count. And it's kind of it's almost like tin roof. Kind of a nice greeny color, neutral greeny color, which I loved. I can think of lots of things I want to use that for. And then I got quite a lot of patterns there. I got this one, Button Button by Brenda Gervais. And they also had a big dish of buttons. Oh, sorry. They had a big dish of buttons, as many as you could stuff in a bag for $2 or something. So I got, you know, as many tins and old sewing boxes as I have of my mother and grandmother's. I don't know where the buttons are. I don't know if I've misplaced them or they're just, they have to be dug out of somewhere. But anyway, I have some little buttons ready to go for that pattern. I had to get the new Prairie Schooler. I found some older, I think they're older. Maybe I'm wrong about this. This is 2009, so it's 10 years old. Brenda Gervais patterns, which I was pleased about. This is With a Needle and Thread, Be Kind and Be True. Always a good thing to try and achieve. Stacy Nash Primitive, Thistles and Spells Pin Keep. Of course, with the thistles, I had to get that one. And I like the little touch of purple in there with the black and white. It's a good Halloween-y one. Summer at Cherry Hill, another Brenda Gervais. If this one is a duplicate, I will be giving this away. I may already have this pattern, I'm not sure. Teresa Kogut, I got Honey and Wool Farm. I'm trying to look for a year on this one. I don't see it, but I liked it. I love this one, Heartstring Samplery, A Weaver's Shuttle. Look at this. Two different options of how to stitch it. And it says, my days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle. That's the way it feels, I'll tell you. Here's a Not Forgotten Farm oldie. I can't find a year, but it just looks like it's either faded or it's older. It's Flagfolk. Waxing Moon Designs, Love Sweet Love. Another Brenda Gervais, Three Tulips. That one is from, don't see a year. Okay, not sure. And then two Blackberry Design. Blackbird Designs, I mean. My Friend's House and Marianne Blackburn. So that was a huge haul. And then my final day of shopping at the Annex, I got two Heart and Hands, the duplicate keys, so that will be a giveaway, basket of eggs and basket of buzz. I have the little drawers to put these in, so I thought that would be fun to do. And then I wanted to try some color and cotton floss, so I got a few of those, and everybody said they just love stitching with these, that they are really silky feeling and good coverage, and they don't fray and they don't split. So I'm excited to try those. So that, my friends, was my big stitchy haul. I do have a birthday in July, I will hasten to add. So I feel like that was my birthday present. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. Well, just as a final word, if you have any inkling at all that you would like to come to this, go ahead and put your name on the wait list. You never know, it might come, your name might get pulled, and if you can come, that's fabulous. If you can't, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You could say no thank you, go on to the next person on the list, or even if you do what I did, like I paid my deposit, not sure that I could come because of so many things, the weddings and graduations going on this season for our family. So if I had wanted to say I couldn't come, I could have pulled out in time that I'm sure they would have found a replacement for me, and I could have gotten my money back. So I think that's a very generous and fair way that they're doing it. So I can't tell you how much fun it was and how much I enjoyed it, and can't wait till next year. I think there's I think I saw something about the dates being moved up slightly in June, so it might be earlier in the month. I'm not certain about that, but I did see something. So I'm thinking that's going to work out for me, because next year is my family's big family reunion. We do this big family reunion every 3 years at the farm in Ohio. And I think our family reunion was going to be the same weekend as StitchCon 2020, but now I think StitchCon 2020 has been shifted. So it will not be a conflict. So I'm very pleased and excited. I will just be living in Ohio for the month of June next year, I guess. But that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. I do love it out there. So anyway, if you've stuck with me this far, thank you so much. I hope I gave a good sense of what it was like for me anyway. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you so much to all the people that were so kind and so helpful. Thank you to all the people who organized it. Hello to all my new friends, and I'm sorry to the people I didn't get to talk to. I would really love to try and talk to you next time. But in the meantime, I will put up pictures of new friends and old friends, and also I want to put up Barb and Leanne's first ever stitch together. You know, they've been friends since they were 14, and they have never stitched together until this momentous moment that we captured on film. So I'll put that in at the very end after the montage of friends. So until next time, I wish you all good things. Bye.
to buy you like 10 times a day.
This is a Flosstube video in the making here.
They do work. Okay. All right.
This is the first time Barb and Leanne have ever stitched together.
Okay. Ready? Needles up. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. Woohoo! That's really perfect. She's just proves the ball, and I'm struggling. If this was a contest, I would lose. Look at it. She's already on stitch 2. I'm on stitch 1.
This gives you a sense
This
of
is because it's only 18.
happy chatter. Lots of stitching. Oh, there I am on the screen.
She's a liar. Seriously, oh, there's a band. We're supposed to be stitching together, not ripping together.